welcome back to Subnautica. I'm Tim Judge. Well, we've got our builder, and we've got some titanium, and the sun's coming up, so we'll actually be able to see what we're doing. So let's pick a direction and go build a sea base. I say north. So it doesn't really matter which way you go. You can try something scenic, I guess, but it's really not terribly important. Basically, just put it wherever you think it will be convenient for you. And step one in building a sea base is the foundation. And you know what? This little plateau, sandy plateau with the kelp forest one direction and I guess kind of a cliff to the other, seems like as good a spot as any. So first we put a foundation for titanium. So to bring up that menu, you're going to want to right mouse button click. You get this that you can scroll through. And so you can position it. You can swim around to put it at different angles. So let's put it... Actually, you know what? That sounds really good. So you hold the left mouse button to construct, and it will start constructing and stop when you run out of materials. If you have all the materials, it'll just finish. So let's add a corridor. Alright. And we probably want a power generator, or we can't really do anything. We've got enough of that. So as long as this power generator is connected to your sea base, either through the floor, the foundation, or on top of a corridor, it will power it. I imagine that in later builds, it will require you to have a power cell, but as of now, it does not. So in order to get into our sea base, we need a hatch, but I do not have any glass, so I cannot make a hatch. But we're going to double check and see how much it needs. So let's see. Hatch. 1 glass and 2 titanium. Well, that's easy. I've already got enough quartz, I believe. Yep. One important thing to note is that when you bring up your little PDA here that has the inventory and journal, you can still swim, and it also still takes up your oxygen, and the game does not pause. So do not think that that is pausing the game. If you need to pause the game, bring up the escape menu. And you will need to pause the game if you need to walk away from it at all, because you cannot just leave this game running. You will run low on food, water. You may run out of oxygen if you're underwater. Just don't leave it paused. Alright, so if we head north, which was the direction, there it is, of our sea base, we can build a hatch. So there are a few places hatches can go. They can go on the top, side, or end of corridors. I think I'm going to put this one in the side. I don't know. Just seems fun. But first I'm going to collect whatever this is here. Titanium, always good. And so you can see with the costs for building the sea base why titanium is so important. So here we go, a hatch. So there we can put on the side, or well, the end. I'm going to put it here. And there we go.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
Alright. So we can put a fragment analyzer if we had all the pieces. So it requires a wiring kit and a computer chip. And I know we have 2 wiring kits in my escape pod. So all I really need is the computer chip. And let's get some silver. And some, I've got the dual discs. So let's see if we can't find some silver. As long as this thing is still structurally intact, you will be able to go into it and replenish your air. It is not as fast as replenishing your oxygen by reaching the surface, but I mean, it's a lot better than not replenishing your air, so there's that. The same thing is true of the Cyclops and the Seamoth. As long as they have power, you can go in and replenish your air, and even if they don't have power, when you go in, your oxygen at least won't drop. But of course, if you're stuck at the bottom of the sea with low oxygen and an out-of-power Seamoth, well, the fact that you can extend your existence for a while doesn't really help much. But honestly, unless you're playing the game in the hardcore mode, death isn't really that big a deal. Basically what happens is you respawn in the Cyclops or your escape pod, and then you lost whatever you collected since the last time you left it. Although the assets do not respawn in the game.
30 seconds of oxygen
so
remaining.
Don't worry about it too much. They may, of course, as with everything else, change this aspect of the game because it is still in a very early build. So don't expect anything to stay as it is. Now, most of the fish in this game actually do have some in-game purpose, but if you were here just for show, and this rabbit ray is one of them, it's pretty, but that's it. It doesn't really do anything for you. And I don't know if they're going to change that, or if that's going to stay the way it is. Personally, I don't mind having fish that don't actually do anything for you, but I don't know, some people might disagree that that's a good idea. However, most of the fish are either dangerous or edible, and of the dangerous ones, many of them are actively hostile and will hunt you down. So be careful. Alright, here we come onto the grassy plains, where we have lots and lots of silver. And by lots and lots, I mean very little and only occasionally.
30 seconds of oxygen remaining.
So, even if you're not in a place where you can build, you can still check on the recipes here. So, remember we need a fragment analyzer, which requires a computer chip and a wiring kit that we don't still have. Which, of course, is why I'm after the silver. You swim faster if you're not holding a tool in your hand, the one exception being the Sea Glide, which, of course, is just there so you travel faster, which, of course, you do if you have it. So, generally speaking, if you don't need a tool, you don't want to have one out, because you will swim slower. Unless I guess that's maybe what you're going for. But, yeah, generally speaking, put your tools away. And where are the limestone chunks around here? One thing I will say for little graphic settings is without the grass it is easier to find the limestone. Silver ore, there we go. Alright. There it is. So there are a number of things in the game that will create these little beacons that kind of pulse at you. Your life pod is one, the Cyclops is another, the Sea Moth is another, and you can also release into the game little beacons. And the beacons will always pulse with whatever you name them. So that way you can always find them. Right now, I don't think there's a way to despawn the Sea Moth, so if your Sea Moth becomes broken beyond repair, right now I believe it still continues to show you a beacon. And I know because in a previous game that I had, I lost my Sea Moth to the largest creature that's currently in the game, and it just kept blinking at me, even after I made a second Sea Moth. I had two Sea Moths, two Sea Moth beacons. It was a little annoying. You can repair the Sea Moth with a welding tool if it gets damaged, but once it reaches 0, that's it. Your Sea Moth is done for. So try not to let that happen. And it's actually not that easy to let it die, basically, unless you're coming toe-to-toe with a Reaper Leviathan, which I'm sure we'll get to eventually. Then you shouldn't be losing your Sea Moth. Just don't drive like a maniac. Alright, computer chip. Let's get the ladder, or wiring kit, I don't know why I said ladder. Come on. There you go. And, might as well make some titanium. Actually, I'm going to make some glass, too, because I like windows in my sea bases. They're pretty, and I think it greatly enhances the aesthetic appeal. And to be honest, I'm a shallow enough gamer that I care about the aesthetic appeal of my player-made housing. And I think you should too. I think that aesthetics are an important aspect of the game, and that even if graphics aren't terrific, they should still have a nice aesthetic to them. It's one of the reasons I liked Fez. Fez had obviously crude graphics, but they were charming, even if Philfish is not so charming. Alright, so here we go, and fragment analyzer. There it is. So once you have the fragment analyzer, you can drop fragments in. So we've got a Seamoth and a terraformer fragment. I'm going to drop the Seamoth in first so it starts working. And then once it finishes, it will start on this terraformer. Now, the terraformer right now actually seems kind of extra in the game. I'm not really sure if they're going to make it a little bit more practical later on. But hey, it's still fun. There's a fabricator unit, so now I don't have to go to the escape pod. Oh, can I build another corridor? I can. So you know what, I'm going to build another straight corridor right here. And so all you do is you just kind of position it. You can use the Q and E keys to rotate. So there we go. And then, do I have enough for a window? 2 glass. No, I do not. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to let you guys go. When we come back, we should have this Seamoth analyzed, and maybe I'll have enough glass for a window. So hopefully when I come back, we'll have a prettier Seabase, and we'll be on track for getting a Seamoth. I'm Tim Judge. Thanks for watching.